Today's guest is the powerful and deeply inspiring Stephanie Olivo, an entrepreneur, speaker, and storyteller whose work lives at the intersection of business, healing, and human connection. A first-generation Tampa native, Stephanie's journey has been shaped by unimaginable loss, unwavering resilience, and a fierce commitment to helping others rebuild after life's most devastating chapters. After losing her husband to suicide and her stepson to an overdose, Stephanie closed the doors on their nearly 20-year family business and turned to writing and alternative healing practices to find her way forward. What started as a personal healing journey soon became a platform and a podcast called Discontinued, Now What?, where Stephanie leads brave conversations about grief, trauma, mental health, and the radical act of starting over. She's also a licensed real estate agent and board member of the Kennedy Kids Foundation. Stephanie brings empathy, clarity, and purpose to every space she enters, whether it's a client's home search, a wellness circle, or a raw conversation about life after loss. Her story reminds us that even in the aftermath of unimaginable pain, purpose and joy are not only possible, they're waiting for us. So let's welcome Stephanie to the mic. Welcome back, badass listeners. I am Sue Willoughby, your host of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, and I have another badass for you today. I'm so excited. I'm doing a little pod swap with Stephanie because I was on her show a few months back, and she is a podcast host of Discontinued, Now What? So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Yes, it has been an interesting ride for the last few years, so I appreciate you having me on here, and I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're done here. So when I was on your show, it was all about me, right? And now that you're on my show, I want to learn. I didn't get to learn that much about you. And I know that you have been through a lot. And the name of your podcast is Disconnected, Now What? So pretty sure that there's a good story behind there, and I don't want to give any spoiler alerts, but how did you come up with that name, and what led you to creating that podcast, and what happened in your life to kind of ignite that spark?
Yeah, it was something I didn't want to do. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I had been with my partner, my late husband, for many years, and my stepson was struggling through some serious things, and he ended up passing away. He ended up overdosing in 2017. And my husband had found him. So dealing with that, the business wasn't going so great. And it was literally a year and 2 months to the day that he took his life. So for me, I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? What is like these experiences? I never say, and I've hadn't in a while, I never say this happened to me. I always say the experiences that I've gone through. I said, okay, what am I going to do with this? I could, deal with it whenever I need to deal with it. And kind of as someone who has gone through experiencing that, somebody with, addiction issues, somebody that had, really heavy depression, to not be exposed to that and not really know what to do. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. Where's the handbook? Somebody give me a play. I don't know what I'm doing here. And it took me a really long time. And somebody actually had come up to me, a really good girlfriend of mine that I was working with. I had closed my business. We had a medical device company that we had he had it for 20 years. I was with him for about 10. And I closed the business. I said, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going to go work for somebody else, whatever. My girlfriend was opening up a clinic, orthotics and prosthetics clinic. So she's like, can you do the marketing and the sales? So I was like, yeah, sure. So one day she literally comes up to me and she says, you need to go see my Reiki master. I said, a what?
What?
She's like, I think it would be really great for you. Just go check it out, see what you think, blah, blah, blah. She's like, because you need to do something. And I am so absolutely grateful for her, because sometimes you don't see these things within yourself. Somebody else that you trust and you love, they're going to see that for you, basically. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, hey, listen, you got to do something, kid. This is going to eat you up. This is something really heavy. Even though you're like, okay, I'll deal with it when I'll deal with it, because that's my personality. I'm like, I don't have time for this right now. I have other shit I got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there comes a point in your life, or a point in that experience, you're like, okay, yeah, maybe I need to do something. So I go to this Reiki master, and she is now, this is in 2019. She's still my master. She's still a mentor of mine. I do the podcast with her, and I worked with her for probably about maybe 2 years or so, 3 years, before I even decided. I was like, oh, maybe I should really talk about this, because a lot of this stuff nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about suicide. Nobody wants to talk about addiction. And for somebody who has never really experienced that, didn't have that in the family, never really was exposed to it, except for like kind of third party, for lack of a better term, things that you see and stuff. I was like, I'm pretty sure there's somebody else out there that was going through the same shit that I'm going through, or something similar, and needs an outlet. Because I think that was, for me, the biggest thing. I was like, I've been to traditional therapy, I've been to the Reiki, I've been to the meditate, all these different things that I've tried. I'm like, okay, what's working, what's not working? And I was asked to co-author in a book about the event, and it was a short chapter kind of thing. And her name is Jamie. Jamie was like, well, why don't you talk about this? Like, why don't you start a podcast? I was like, no way, dude. Like, nobody wants to hear my shit. You know what I mean? Like, truly, like, who wants to hear that?
Right.
And it started off as, kind of talking about grief and discussing like different healing modalities and stuff. And it's kind of grown into something a little bit, I guess, different. It's evolved in a way, which has been really nice. So I really talk to women who have, had different experiences, whatever that is, whether it's, a death of a relationship, a death of a job, a career, whatever that life thing that happens. And they just started something completely different from what they thought they were going to do. That discontinued, now what the hell do I do? Basically, you know what I mean? And, sometimes it comes like, even now I'm going to be 44 years old. And I'm just like, all right, is this what I want to do for like another 20 years? We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey, which has been awesome. I'm incredibly grateful for the people that I've interviewed, especially yourself. Had the opportunity to have you on, and just learning about how women really experience different things. And sometimes there's a lot of synchronicities in different walks of life, different experiences and stuff. And I think just collaborating with female entrepreneurs, mothers, healers, a little bit of everything, and exposing the masses, I would say, to these modalities, I think is really important, because we never know what's going to help us until we try it.
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I love that, that what you went through is, in a very short period of time, is a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. The first of all, the addiction, ending up in an overdose, and then the suicide, two people that were, in your heart, that is a lot to process, to then just be able to like, okay, I'm good. Let's just keep moving here and see what, and you said that you did regular therapy. And I love that kind of when you brought the Reiki into it, because I'm second level Reiki. I'm not a Reiki master, but I do use energy work with my horses and, with humans and so forth. I love doing it with animals. It's so amazing, because they're so open, right? They're so receptive. I
Yes.
do my dog, the horse,
Mm-hmm.
and he just kind of melts, and it's beautiful. But I love that you were willing to at least try that. And it sounds like it helped to open up that channel for you
For
to
sure.
then be able to process all of that experience that you had. Because that was what, 2018, 20, between 2017 and 2019, let's say, right? That was, and now be able to bring that to people. And like you said, nobody wants to hear my shit. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Your shit, there are a lot of people out there that have been through the same shit, if not, more or similar. And I
Mm-hmm.
notice this when I do like group coaching, or when we do a group retreat with the horses.
Yeah.
Each person gets their own turn with the horse, and the rest of the group is watching, and you see everybody being like, mouths open, nodding, hearts cracking open, being like, oh my God, that same, there's so many women out there and people out there that have experienced that. So thank you for being willing to share that. Um, how was
Thank
it
you.
for you when you first started sharing this?
The first maybe couple of episodes was real tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first episode was really kind of just like an intro, like, this is why I'm kind of doing this. If it helps, one person, and that one person is me, that's the only reason why I'm going to do it. Kind of a diary of sorts.
Mm.
That was kind of my approach at first. And it just kind of evolved. And, there's still times that, I discuss, exactly what happened, and it's tough, but it's gotten not easier. I never say easier, and it's not a time thing. It is, we learn different tools, how to maneuver when these, I call them these roadblocks, these hurdles, these potholes, if you will, when
Mm.
they kind of pop out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and I'm really adamant about a Reiki and journaling and meditation, because I always thought that was really cool. I never really understood any of it. I have a very spiritual background and family, unbeknownst to me. Kind of like, as I'm going through this journey, I'm finding out all these different things. I'm like, oh, this is why you do certain things. Got it. And it's really along from my mom's side. And what's really interesting is that my mom passed now 4 years ago, and my dad was not someone who you would imagine he would, talk about kind of spirituality and,
Mm-hmm.
seeing her and feeling her and all this stuff. And just like randomly one day, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I totally believe in it, because your mom came to a dream and it felt like I could smell her. I hugged her and it was so cool and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, gotcha.
Okay,
Because
Dad.
I had that too, so we're all connected. Cool, got it.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ethereal world is for real.
Mm-hmm. It's for real, guys. It's for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So, how have you gotten closer to your dad through that sort of spiritual channel?
Yeah, for that was definitely something that really bonded us, but I think the biggest thing was that we were both, you know, married, and both of our spouses passed. And
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that he did say to me, and I think that this is something that I never really, I don't know if I forget things, or I just kind of put it so far back there. It's just like, oh, when I need to bring it out, I'll bring it out. But he was saying to me, he's like, you're the only one who understands what I'm going through. And I was like, fucking mind blown. I'm like, yeah, I am the only one, because we're in the same boat, dude. Like, we're in the
Yeah.
same boat. And it was a weird, but a very much bonding experience. And just having those conversations and having him like use me as an outlet to talk about the things that sometimes you can't talk about to your friends, because they don't know that experience. They don't know what you're feeling. And whether it's a parent, whether it's a spouse, it's a very difficult conversation because you don't know, you sympathize, but you can't really empathize, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't unless you've been through it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, and I forget where I was reading something or whatever about how, it was a book, a guest that I had on whose daughter had like had a brain tumor and passed away when she was 23. And she took her ashes and traveled for like 26 months and left little bits of her around. And so she wrote a book called The Suitcase and the Jar, or The Jar and the Suitcase. And she was
Mm-hmm.
talking about how she kind of had this weird streak of like, kind of fucking with people, to be honest with you, or people would, she'd tell her story kind of to get a reaction in some ways, and then or and also how people would react, right? It's either like, oh, I'm so sorry, or whatever, just kind of the different reactions that people would
Totally.
have. And I'm sure that you've had similar experiences with people don't know how to, and like this goes back to your point about how we need to, I don't want to say normalize, but in some ways talk about these things so that when
For
they
sure.
do happen. So did you have similar, what were your experiences around how people treated you after all of this?
Yeah, I even still to this day get the ooh, that literal face kind of like weird
She
reaction.
talked about that in the book. It's like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't mean to like, I don't want to lay it on thick. I'm very kind of, in a sense, and this is not something that I'm working on. This is kind of just me. And I'm like, oh, this happened and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, their face just like cringes. And, I said, I go, the reason why I say this is because we have to normalize. I mean, we don't have to do anything. You can do whatever the hell you want, but I highly suggest talking about these things, because so we don't have the funny face reactions or the crazy face reactions of like, yeah, shit's tough. Yes, it was difficult. Not every day is a cakewalk. Absolutely. But there are things out there, whatever that thing is for you, to be able to help you kind of maneuver and have those tough times that, it would be a couple of days in bed, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to talk to anybody. Days turned into hours, turned into minutes, kind of like, okay, I got to take a minute, got to take a beat. How do I deal with this? Why the what's in the whys? This is something that Jamie had always talked about. And I was like, I go, what are you talking about? Well, what's in the whys? She's like, what is that feeling? Why am I feeling that? I said, okay, I'm going to start doing that. And because of that tool and that little helpful thing, I was able to recognize, I'm like, okay, is this something from my relationship with Dirk? Was it from my relationship with my stepson Kai? Is it something deeper than that I haven't even touched base with? And sometimes it's that, we think sometimes it's whatever that experience was that happened to us. That's the reason. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something so far back that we've pushed far back because we're like, okay, we don't want to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
human. We don't like the uncomfortable. We like everything easy breezy. Everything is good. It's groovy. It's fantastic, and we don't want to deal with the hard shit. But I think the more that we deal with the hard shit, we're able to let a little bit more light in, and be a little bit lighter, feel a little bit lighter. Yes, the things that happened to us were tough for sure, but there's light at that end of the tunnel for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's great. And that is with everything. If you can take that beat, somebody cuts you off in traffic,
Mm-hmm.
take a beat before you flip them off because they may be locked or loaded. You never know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Or don't flip them off at all.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, things are very layered. It's never just one thing that creates that visceral reaction or that whatever. And like you said, if you can take a minute or beat, 2 beats, 3 beats, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and be aware and curious about
Definitely.
why is that pissing me off? Why do I want to reach
Mm-hmm.
across and choke that person? Or why do
Yeah.
I just want to start crying? Why did that bring up that emotion? And where does that live in my body? That's some of the stuff that I do with the horses,
Yeah.
right? Where did that originate? Right? There's the why. Why am I feeling that way? And where am I feeling that? Is it in my gut? Is it in my chest? Is it in my, back? Wherever it
Yeah.
is, where is that living? Because like you said, we tuck things away. We put it's like packing a suitcase, right? I don't call it luggage for nothing.
Yeah.
You put it all in the little corners and you tuck them away, and then you sit on the case and you zip it up, and you're like, good, got that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you open it, or they open it at TSA, and everything explodes. You're like, well, shit. So
For sure. Yeah. Totally. Totally.
yeah. So I fully applaud that, taking that minute and understanding why, and I'll just add the where too. Where is that coming
And I
from?
like that where because it's and it's there's studies out there, guys. There's studies out there that emotion, that fear, that anxiety, whatever that feeling is, will live physically in your body, and it'll
Hmm.
stay there until you deal with it, until you figure it out. Like, where is that coming from? I had an experience, and I don't think I honestly would have believed it until it happened, and I actually did it. It was another author from the book we were in. She did hypnotherapy, and she did a session with me, and she's like, what's going on, whatever, blah blah blah. I said, I don't know, it's just kind of, honestly, I'm having like severe hip pain,
Mm.
and it's my right side and blah blah blah, or it was my left side, whatever, and I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's like an emotional thing. I don't know if I jarred myself when I was, doing yoga, whatever the case may be. She's like, all right, let's do it. So we go in, we're talking about certain things, and we're talking about abandonment. And I said, you go, yeah, I feel abandoned by, my late husband and blah, blah, blah. He just, he decided, he wasn't going to be here anymore, all this stuff. And as we're talking and talking, and she mentioned something about my childhood. And she's like, how was your childhood and blah, blah. I was like, my parents were older, so they weren't really around. They were working. So really who raised me was my sister and my aunt. And we're talking about that. And she's like, do you feel abandoned by your parents? And I was like, no, but now that you say that, like, that makes sense. And
Mm.
we're talking about this for the longest time. And no shit, like, my left side, I felt this weird, like, kind of electric shock situation, like, on my, like, behind my thigh, my leg. And I was like, this is kind of weird. And she's like, what? I said, well, my hip doesn't really hurt right now. I go, but maybe it's because the way that I'm sitting and blah, blah, blah. This was in 2020 that I talked to her. It's been now going on 6 years. No hip pain. And she'll
Mm.
ask me, like, every randomly, she's like, just checking in on you. How are you doing? We'll talk, whatever. She's like, any pain? I said, no. Like,
Mm.
honestly, like, this is the weirdest thing. And I said, I would tell you, I wouldn't believe you unless it happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the wildest thing. So that, even much more so, made me believe and recognize that your emotions will stick to your body and
Yeah.
stick in places where, like, this is why, my knee or my pain, my hip, whatever, my back, whatever that case may be, it really does get lodged in there. And I don't think I would have believed it until it happened. It was wild.
and I
Really wild.
and I like the electrical, you felt it leaving your body, right? That electrical
Yeah.
charge kind of like exiting, and no more pain in your hip. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was, yeah. Even talking about it, I'm just like, people are gonna think I'm fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I love that. Yeah. You know, maybe, but at the same
hmm
time, somebody else has experienced that exact same thing. Maybe not with the hip, but somewhere else where it's
hmm
just like I went through when I started learning more about Reiki and energy work. I went through this thing called the Reconnection, where
hmm
they basically kind of clear all of your energy out. And so it's almost like a lobster shedding its shell, right? And then you're super, super vulnerable. And there's this whole ritual with like, so you do it in kind of 2 steps. So you do it where they kind of clear everything out, and you have to be really careful for a couple of days or whatever until your next appointment, take a bath
Makes
and do all this
sense.
stuff. And then, so you don't bring any bad stuff in. And then you go back, and then they kind of not seal you off, but, connect you in a more beautiful way with the universal energy and all of that stuff. So
That
it's
is
a little,
really cool.
but yeah, I mean, it felt like when I was in the clearing session that I just was like, I can't even explain how I felt. Like I was not in my body. I was not watching my body. I wasn't like observing like, a near death kind of thing or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just clouds and light, and it was really beautiful experience.
You
And
probably felt lighter.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I've never heard of that. That's interesting.
It's
Yeah.
called the Reconnection, and there's this guy who I forget what his name is now, but you can Google
Yeah.
energy reconnection, whatever, Reiki sort of thing. But that was kind of my introduction to a lot of energy work. And most recently, I had a Reiki session where towards the end of the session, it wasn't like a hands-on Reiki session. It was sort of a intuitive Reiki session. And towards the end, I kept hearing like, and I felt like if you rip apart a dog toy, right, and the stuffing comes out.
Yeah. The crackly, yeah.
Crackly kind of stuffing just being, and I felt like it was being pulled out of me, and it was so weird and so real.
Wow.
And when I was debriefing afterwards, she said, "What was your experience like?" And I told her, I said, "There's a really weird thing at the end where I felt like, I heard that noise and I felt this thing." And, I had some issues with my mom growing up. She was an alcoholic, and, and she's since gone into spirit. But she said, your mom was here, and those were your spirit guides and your angels, and they were trying to clear out that energy from her. I was like, holy mother forking shirt balls. That was crazy.
Holy cow.
I could hear it. I could feel it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, seriously.
So it's real. Yeah.
It is. And I think it's really important for us, especially when we're doing different healing modalities, to be open. Mm-hmm. Not have an expectation, because honestly, I think if I would have experienced some of the things that I would experience before, like knowing like, hey, this is going to happen. I don't think I would have really appreciated it. Number one. Number two, I think I would have been honestly like a little bit defensive of it. Like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want to see that. I don't want to experience that. That's not the shit that I want to be around. Remember, pretty rainbows and butterflies. That's what I want.
Puppies and unicorns.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to see the ugly stuff, but I'm grateful to it, and I acknowledge it, and I completely respect it, because there have been experiences that things get attached, unbeknownst to me. And so much so that my partner, who doesn't believe in any of this stuff, would tell me things. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, we got to clean the house. Like, this has got to clear this energy out. I am not down for that. So it's wild, to say the least. It's just wild.
Say the least.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that you found all of that. And I want to ask you a question, though. So this is related but unrelated. So I also know that you're a licensed real estate agent. Uh-huh. Have you ever, or can you tell me about how your sensitivity to energy has come into play in real estate? That's kind of a weird question, but
no, it's
because I've got some really good stories too.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, because I think I was always trying to, up until recently, I was always trying to separate the two. Like, you know, my spiritual practice is one thing. It's not gonna, you know, interfere, if you will, quote unquote, or kind of get into the other things that I'm doing for work. But my my friend Jamie, and she was I was telling her, I said, you know, it's just this weird feeling. I was, you know, about to go into a house and I didn't want to go in. The buyer was like, what's wrong? And I didn't want to say, there's bad juju in there because but luckily, like a lot of, you know, my clients at the time were all referrals, like family friends, you know, friend of a friend. They knew I was very in tune to a lot of things. And I would just say, I was like, yeah, this is probably not going to be a good idea. If you want to walk in, sure, go ahead. I wouldn't walk in. Like that's happened probably a couple of times. But typically it hasn't been an issue. Like I've never experienced anything weird, except for maybe a couple of times I didn't go into a house. And but when I meet people, I'll know if like, okay, this is going to work out or this is not going to work out. And there's been a couple of times to be like, yeah, I have to refer you to somebody else. I can't work with you. And they're like, why? I'm like, oh, I'm just too busy and I can't give you the time. Sorry, kid. Bye.
You're freaking me out.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So that's only happened really maybe a handful of times. But yeah, that's been interesting. But you know, when we bought this house here in Decatur, in Georgia, I knew immediately. I literally walked in and you felt this amazing amount of love in the house.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking to the guys that lived here before, one was German and he had different German city mugs hanging up on one of the shelves. One of them was Cologne, the other one was Dusseldorf, and I think the other one was like Berlin. He was from Berlin. And I said, it's so funny that you have those particular mugs from those cities. And I told him about, you know, my late husband and blah, blah, blah. He and I just started like, he was just so welcoming and loving. Like I told him the whole story and it was just me in the house, him and I, and his partner were like talking and stuff. And I said, I go, you know, not for nothing, but I want to say, I was like, the moment that I walked into this house, I just felt this like immense amount of love. And he goes, yeah, we did too. That's why we bought the house. I said, okay, so it's here. It's not you, it's just you guys. Like it's here in this house and these grounds. And yeah, I mean, we still talk to this day, and it's something that I love so much that I was able to kind of really not kind of push it away, like just the feelings and stuff like that about, you know, this particular space. And it's been really a growing and a learning experience. Like I've been doing a lot of stuff I don't think I would have done somewhere else, if that makes sense. Like it was just this was the space that we needed to be in. So it's been pretty cool.
I love that's so great. And so yes, now you are the new steward of the energy of this place. I love that.
Yes. I'm in charge of the love here.
Yes. They were the stewards previously. Now you are. And keep it flowing. And that is so true. And I am the same way. There's been houses where I will be like, I'm going to wait by the front door and I'm going to leave the door open. Yeah. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I'm gonna. And yeah, no, thank you. It's just the energy of the property is bad. And I've had some listings where I'm like, I gotta clear this shit out of here. Nobody's gonna want to come in. Yeah. But and to your point too, I've also had the same experience with homes that I've purchased. You know, one time I was looking for a second property and I toured like 10 houses in 2 hours because I tour like a realtor. And because I am. And it was like this one. This one. And I just made it happen. It happened, right? You know, it's like that. Nope, this is my house. This is my house. And I've felt that about every house that I've bought and lived in or had, you know, as a second home or whatever. And it just feels so beautiful to be in space that feels good. And and also know how to clear out, like you said, when, when things, stuff creeps in every once in a while, not
For
because
sure.
of the home, but like your body, the house, the properties they hold, if there's energy here that is not wanting to leave, right? You're going to sense that. So I love that
Totally.
you're tuned into that. And also the same thing with clients. It's like, when I teach real estate, so I tell my students, you do not have to work with everyone. If
No.
someone does not make you feel good, please, like you said, excuse them politely.
Yes. Say thank you
I'm,
so much and call it a day. Yeah.
yeah,
Because you have to really, I mean, that's another tool that I've really learned is really protecting your energy.
hmm
And I never knew how to do that before. I never knew that was a thing. And I would say, every time I hang out with this person, I just feel so exhausted, so drained,
yeah,
and it's constantly the same song and dance, the saga, the drama, whatever it is. And I go, I'm just so exhausted. And she would ask me, she's like, do you protect your energy? I said, I'm sorry, what do I have to do?
bubble up, we
Yeah,
call it.
no clue what even that was. But even every time I leave the house, when I go to work, I go, to a concert, whatever the case may be, that is it's just like when I brush my teeth. It's just something that I do all the time when people come over. I have selenite sticks above the doorways because you never know.
Right.
But yeah, and it's just something that I practice that has helped me tremendously. And I think it's really important to kind of like expose that to the masses. And try it. Not everything is for everybody, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But especially when you're coming from a place of you don't know what where is up, where is down, you don't know what to do. This is a really nice kind of,
Yeah.
I say, grounding point, because it's working with yourself. It's not working with anything else outside. It is getting in touch with your feelings, your emotions, how you want things to go. What are you feeling? How things that you probably never even thought of might come up, and dealing with those and be like, oh, okay, this is why I'm feeling this way, or this is why I've reacted this way to a situation, a person, whatever that case may be. And just learning so much about yourself, I think it's huge. I think it's huge, and I think a lot of us, spiritual or not, it would be a great benefit for everyone.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And if you don't know yourself, you cannot be good for anyone else.
Mhm. Mask on
Right.
first.
Yeah. Because right, mask on first for
Yeah.
sure. Because if we don't know what we're dealing with and we're reactive to another person, I mean, I spent many years in relationships where it was just reaction, 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 both on both sides, right? And
Hmm.
you're like, this is unhealthy and this sucks and I don't feel great about this. And then you go to the next relationship and it's the same shit. Well, guess
It's
what the
just,
common denominator is? It's you. For
yeah,
God's sakes, it's you.
totally.
Get your shit together. Not everybody has their shit together, but you're right. We do have to, and I think more and more people are going in that direction and wanting to know more about the why coming from within, because things are crazy right now and you can't be crazy in the crazy, right? If you're full of chaos, in more chaos,
Yeah, it's a
you're just going
mess.
to
Yeah,
implode. Yeah, you're
yeah.
going to implode. So if we can come into ourselves, come into our communities,
Hmm.
find ways to be more present, and I know that sounds cliche, but and be curious and be, like you said, all of those things, build some awareness,
Totally.
get grounded, right? Get
Yeah,
those crystals up over the door.
get the
I love
crystals, step in the grass, whatever do you, boo. Go
that.
swimming, whatever you need to do. Highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend. Yeah, for
Well, and
sure.
I learned that about when I first started doing equine massage, about the energy and how I would have to create energy for the horse and myself to build that trust. And also, I couldn't come into the barn or into their space if I was bringing a lot of shit with me, right? So I would have to like clear my energy before I started working with a horse, create an energetic bubble for us. And then after I left, I found this out the hard way, clear my energy again, because I was driving home one time and I like had to pull over. I had worked on this horse who was clearly going through a lot. They were holding a lot of things in, and they were still connected with me. And I was like, okay, whoa, what is going on here? And then I had to release their energy and clear their energy from me. So it can happen with all beings, not just other people.
Yeah.
People's energy is different, right? Because sometimes it'll do a number on you, like the energy vampires or whatever. They're out there,
Yeah,
so just be
they
like
are.
you said,
That's true.
bubble up,
Yeah.
protect yourself. So, yeah, clearing our energy is a big thing. All right, that's a fascinating topic that I could just riff on all day long.
Right? Totally.
So, what you're doing the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
What else are you doing? What is next for Stephanie?
Well, I am in the works of writing a book. I have been writing probably for the last maybe 2 years, just kind of like telling my story and trying to figure out how I want to tell it, and I think that that comes with its own, how do you say, its own hurdles, if you will, its own potholes, things that I had maybe forgotten about or tucked back so far back that I didn't want to deal with it. They start coming out because talking about it is one thing. I have noticed that chatting about it and discussing it, it's out of the mouth and it's out there and that's it. But when you're putting pen to paper, it totally is a different animal. It really is something sometimes cathartic, sometimes very aggravating, emotional, like all the words, all the things. It's tough. It really is tough. So I always say, anybody who's written a book, like, bravo, dude, because it is no small feat. But yeah, I definitely want to finish hopefully that this year. That is my plan. And to have more speaking engagements and talking about the things not only that I have experienced, but I think some things that that over the last few years have really helped me, not only on the spiritual side, but talking about a financial advisor, when you're left with the funds and you're like, what do I do with this? How do I deal with this? How do I not so much how do I pay a thing? I know how to do that, guys. I know how to pay my bills, but having somebody advise you on certain things, it's tough, and I think that's one of the biggest things, especially for women who have lost a partner. You're not in that headspace to think about any of that for a really long time, and I think it's a very important tool or thing to have some kind of somebody that's outside that's going to help you, of course, not take advantage of you, but help you kind of like put your fucking life back together. I mean,
put your fucking life back together. I like that.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, at least, put the walls on the house, paint, whatever it is, like just kind of help you get going so you feel better. So you feel, okay, I can breathe. I don't have to worry about what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with that? Some kind of assistance of some sort. I don't know what that is. I've had a few experiences and stuff with some people that have helped. And I think that's something that's really not talked about. Nobody wants to talk about death. I get it. Yeah. I understand that. But guess what, guys? We're all going. we're all going to go at one point. And I think having that stuff kind of in play, and especially with a relationship, a family, whatever that is, that's something that I had talked about. I mean, very early on when Dirk had passed, I had asked my dad and my mom, I said, do you have this in place? Do you have that in place? I don't want this to happen to you because it fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
For lack of a better term, like this is horrible. Have your things in place. Like nobody wants to talk about it, but it's inevitable. It sucks, but it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of things, Rowan, culminating in there. So,
that's great, though. I love that you're open to all of that. And I just want to reiterate what you just said about, having some help dealing with those things. And you don't have to deal with everything all at once because there's so much.
So much.
And finding someone to help you with this little piece and then this little piece and all of these little baby steps until, okay, I feel like I can take on more or I can do whatever. I also really enjoyed you talking about how get your shit in order before shit happens, because I had a guest on who has written a book. I may have told you about this on my show or on my episode. I don't think so. Her name is Abigail D'Agostino, and she wrote a book called Die Better. Everyone's doing it, so die better. And it's actually a 31-day. Yes, it's amazing. You should have her on your show. It's basically a handbook for caregivers. She spent 20 years as a palliative care nurse and a hospice nurse. And she saw a lot of things that were happening to the clients from the patient's standpoint that were not great for them, but because the family members and the caregivers didn't have a better understanding of what this person's wishes were or the process or what happens. And she very beautifully puts, like I said, it's literally a handbook.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just for caregivers. And I told her this, I said, I think everyone, as we get to a certain, we don't know when that may be us, right? Whether you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, at some point we may end up in that position and not be able to talk about our wishes or whatever those things are. So it's a really cool book. And once again, it's one of those topics that nobody wants to talk about.
Correct. And I have such an I don't know if it's an admiration or just like, holy cow, for hospice and palliative care nurses and staff. Because for me, seeing that with my mom and just the love that they gave, just being there, helping her out, when we weren't able to, providing the meds and all this stuff. And I remember like the day that she passed, she was at home and they came and stuff like that. And I literally said, you guys are godsends. Like, I don't know how you guys fucking do this shit all the time, every day. But you guys are like fucking rock stars. Like this is, I'm forever grateful, because they were just so, so, so good with her. And it's a hard thing, but I think you really are called to that line of work, to be able to help people kind of to cross over.
Yeah. And not just the crossing over part, but the part that happens before that. Right. The body has its natural progression of letting go. Yeah. And she also talks about that in the book. It's like, this is naturally what's happening. You're going to get to a certain point. You can't stop that. There's no curative care anymore. Let's just make this person's passage emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever, as comforting as you possibly can. So yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Whew, that was a lot. This was a great episode.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground here. Awesome.
It's a lot of things for sure.
Deep breath. Okay. As we're wrapping up here, is there something you've dropped so many gems during this episode, but is there like one thing that you would like to share as we're closing? And then also, how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow you and learn more about your journey?
Yes, no, thank you so much. For sure. On all the socials, Discontinued Now What, and that's the podcast name. Something that I would like to share with everybody. it's something that I also am doing myself, learn that it's a journey. Healing is a journey. Grief is a journey. It's not, once you get to this step, it's over. It's something that is it's in your blood, it's in your being. And don't feel that, oh, I should be quote unquote over this by now. That's something that really kind of drives me nuts. It's a journey. You're going to find little things here and there along, the years after, and it's okay. It's really okay. This is your journey. Everybody's journey is going to be different. So, just kind of take it and be like, okay, all right, I have to deal with this, and that's all right. This is my time to because it's going to keep coming up. That is something that I have learned over the years, because it reminds you, like, hey, guess what? I'm here. You still got to deal with me. So yeah, it's a journey for sure.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I thank you for having a sense of humor about it. I do, that you, and like you said, things are going to come up. You're like, okay, I got you. You're still here. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Great. So that was very beautiful advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for being on the show. I appreciate your vulnerability,
yes, thank you for having me.
Your kindness and your heart. Thank you. I love that. And for those of you who are listening, if this resonated with you in any way, shape, or form, because we did cover a lot of ground today, and beautifully, I might add, and humorously, I might add. So if this resonated with you, or you think someone else may get value from this episode, please share it with a friend, give us a rating, review the podcast. I love you so much. And I know you have an option of who you listen to, when you listen to, whatever you listen to. So thank you for listening today. I really do appreciate you. And this is Sue Willoughby, and I'll be back next week with another episode of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. You're listening to Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, the no BS podcast for women over 40 who are sick of playing by someone else's rules. I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, badass midlife strategist, truth teller, and professional fire starter for midlife reinvention. Around here, we don't do fluff. We do real talk, bold strategies, and badass breakthroughs. Because midlife isn't a crisis, it's your damn power move. If you're all in, unapologetic, and ready to reinvent, let's get started.